What you need to know about text messages. Sending text messages can be an effective marketing tool. As Herbalife Nutrition independent distributors, it's important to follow the rules about when and how to send them. Texting consumers is highly regulated, and there are many restrictions. Under federal law, consumers may sue for violations of texting regulation, and there can be steep financial and regulatory fines and penalties for these violations. If you text improperly, there can be severe consequences. Consumers may become upset, and this will erode the trust they have in us. Text messages, also known as SMS, which stands for Short Message Service, are regulated under many of the same laws that regulate voice telemarketing calls. U.S. texting laws regulate texting people for any purpose through an autodialer, which is any equipment with the capacity to store or produce numbers on a random or sequential basis. This definition can extend to many types of equipment and online services that are used to send text messages. The most important rule to know is that the recipients of text messages from autodialers must have opted in to receive these messages. The opt-in they must provide differs, depending on whether the text contains marketing messages or is merely informational. Text messages that contain marketing are subject to a prior express written consent opt-in requirement. Text messages that are merely informational are subject to a prior express consent opt-in requirement. We recommend obtaining prior express written consent so that you can send both marketing and informational text messages. Keep in mind that this particular opt-in requirement applies only to text messages sent from autodialers. If you manually type a text to your customer, then you are generally not subject to this opt-in requirement. In some circumstances, you can respond to a customer request that is initiated by the customer. However, if your response includes marketing or advertising information that goes beyond what the customer requested, then the text is regulated and is subject to the opt-in requirement. Although certain texts may not be regulated, you should still respect customer requests to stop communicating with them via text. Another type of opt-in consent is required to send a marketing text message to anyone whose mobile telephone number is on the National Do Not Call Registry. If you already have a customer's prior express written consent to send automated text messages, that should satisfy that opt-in consent requirement. Recipients of auto-dialed text must provide express written consent to be included in the specific campaign before you can send a text. How do you get recipients to opt in this manner? You can use an online or print form that contains certain required disclosures for people to opt in. Or you can ask people to send a text with a code or keyword to demonstrate permission to start receiving text messages. If you ask people to send a text with a code or keyword, you need to make sure that certain disclosures were included and that they were clear and conspicuous enough so a consumer could not miss them. We will explain what these required disclosures must state in a moment. You can't send people a text message asking them to opt in to receive marketing text. You must obtain prior express written consent before starting to send marketing text messages. Verbal consent is not sufficient for marketing texts, so if a customer tells you it's okay to send them automated text, you should ask them to send you an email or text that documents their request. Written consent means that it is documented and recorded. You can document this via an online form or email, but it's also okay if you want to collect paper consents. Either way, you must retain proof of this consent. When obtaining consent, clearly describe the type of messages you'll be sending. And if applicable, note that messages will be recurring. Be sure to tell customers the texts will be automated and they don't have to receive texts in order to make a purchase, because customers cannot be required to consent to a texting program as part of purchasing a product or service. The consent document must also contain the mobile telephone number for which the consumer is providing his or her consent. Be sure to honor what people consent to. Don't change the nature or frequency of the messages you text after the fact. For example, if you have obtained consent to send a certain type of text message, such as a receipt, you should not treat this as a consent to marketing messages. When a customer opts in to receive your texts, it's a best practice to send them an automatic confirmation text that includes your name, the fact that you are an independent Herbalife nutrition distributor, the types of messages you'll be sending, a notation that messages will be recurring if applicable, a warning that standard message and data rates may apply, and instructions to opt out of texts. It's also recommended that you include contact information and a link to your terms and conditions and privacy notice if you have them. An opt-in permission will legally expire after 18 months of inactivity. This means that if you haven't sent someone a text for 18 months, their opt-in expires and you will have to get a new opt-in. If you keep texting them without 18-month gaps between texts, then you can avoid the expiration. Once recipients have opted into a texting program, they always have the right to opt out and have the texting stop. You must provide recipients with a way to opt out of future messages. Allow them to text stop, end, cancel, unsubscribe, or quit to opt out. Recipients may also try to opt out in other ways, such as verbally through a phone call. As a good business practice, you should record and honor people's requests to opt out no matter how they are made if they are reasonable. Make it easy to opt out and to quickly respond to people's wishes for the texting to stop. It is very important to be respectful of recipients when sending them text messages. Avoid sending unnecessary texts and be sure that you deliver texts at the frequency you initially promised. For example, if you promise to send texts once a month, don't start sending them more frequently. Avoid texting people at inconvenient times. Don't disturb people by texting too early in the morning or too late in the evening. The key thing to remember is that we want to respect people's wishes and provide value to them. People should only receive texts they want to receive, and they should be texted in the way described to them. Whenever you have any questions, ask the privacy department at privacy@herbalife.com. You are the distributor difference.